Okay, Java John here. You are tuned into the acoustic record on tropicwaveradio.net. Welcome, everyone around the world. I'm very excited to have a very special guest with me here on the line, Mr. Ian Gillan. Hello, Ian.
Hello, how are you?
I am very well. How are you today, sir?
Top of the world, Ma.
Yeah, man. How's the weather over there? You're in Portugal, eh?
Yeah, it's about 70 degrees today, and very, very beginning of spring weather, and we're in great shape.
We got it made, don't we?
Sorry?
I say we got it made being down here in Florida and over.
We call ourselves.
Man, I heard something the other day. Somebody they reported from somewhere 50 inches of snow someplace. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Actually, in England, where my family back home at the moment are looking up the country at incredible snowy weather. It's a bit late in the season for that, but it's just a late flash.
Man.
But we're okay.
All right, and we're okay too, and I hope everyone else out there is okay. This is, I think, rather interesting how we managed to put this together. Last month I did a retrospective on Elvis for Elvis's birthday, and I had read a quote somewhere where they said that you were inspired early on by a young Elvis. So I tried to get you to share a quote with me here on the air, but you were packing up to go to the Outback, you said.
I was just coming, actually on my way from the Outback to here, I think it was, or thereabouts. I can't remember exactly, but I've just returned from 5 weeks in Australia. And I've been pretty much off the map, so
yeah.
Sorry I couldn't do that.
No, that's okay. We're here now. How was the trip? Lovely trip?
Unbelievable, yeah. I was in northern Queensland, and I went up to the Daintree River and saw the rainforest, and I was out to the Great Barrier Reef. I saw a lot of crocodiles and sharks. In fact, it was just like the music business.
I did notice in researching you a little bit there that you seem to be quite the outdoorsman.
Well, yeah. I mean, I do like. I've had a lot of adventures. I grew up with sport and adventures, and I mean, we're very lucky. We've been traveling around the world, and so when you get some time off, it's easy to just put a rucksack on your back and go off hiking and camping. I love it.
Yeah, man. Enjoy the good life, yeah.
Mm.
Let's see here. I want to touch base on a couple things early on here so we can make sure that we touch them. Of course, after we reconnected and they assured me that I could chat with you today, I got a hold of a copy of Gillan's Inn. Gillan's Inn, which is fabulous.
Thank you.
You know, I'll be honest with you. I was a young fan when a cousin of mine brought around the Machine Head album. I became a huge fan of Deep Purple for several years. Then I just kind of laid off for a long, long time. And when I heard this record, it made me realize why I loved that band so much. And there was a lot of things I loved about that band, but it really came down to your voice.
Well, thank you. The band is still going strong. We're in the middle of a 2-year tour. In fact, we're going to be in the States from June till mid-late August. I haven't got the itinerary yet, but it's a 2-year tour, as we tend to do, supporting the current record, Rapture of the Deep, and the band has never been better.
Excellent.
We're just looking forward to, after our Christmas break, we're just getting back together in a couple of weeks' time to kick off again in Albania, I think, and then through France and into the UK and so on. But that was a retrospective. My manager phoned me up and said, you've been in the business now for about 400 years. It's probably about time you did a little sort of anniversary thing. So I got together a few old mates, and all the guys in Purple played on it. Joe Satriani played on it, Jeff Healey, Tony Iommi, because I was with Black Sabbath for a little while, and Uli John Roth, and a lot of other people that I've known over the years. Volunteered their time and efforts and came along, did a bit of strumming, a bit of warbling, and it was party time. It was great. We just did a selection of material, and I said, well, just imagine we got a pub, the drinks are free, there's a crowd in there, and the set list is on the floor, just jump up and play a couple of songs. And that's pretty much how the atmosphere was arrived at in the record. Plus, it's a dual disc, and we got a lot of background material, candid handheld shots of Satriani and Healy and all the Purple guys in the studio. Yes. It was a fun project, a one-off.
Oh yeah, it was wonderful. It is wonderful, and the dual disc with the DVD. I was catching up on a little bit of it last night, and the one, like you said, the handheld shot in the studio. The handheld shots were We're very special, very very home feel, and.
Well, I think John. I think it's like the trouble is with CDs is the actual the physical difficulties with a CD. When you were dealing with vinyl, you actually had a piece of product in your hand, and the covers. I mean, sometimes with a gatefold cover, you could immediately bring the record home, read the lyrics, look at the. Somebody get that for me. There's someone at my door. And look at all the pictures and the candid shots that have been. And the design was an extension of the music.
Oh, yeah.
I think now it's very difficult to actually get that sort of feeling on a CD. So we were attempting to do that electronically, you know. And
it works. It works. But yes, that's the perfect analogy because I do miss that the contact of the gatefold covers.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of my favorite tracks off of this disc. What I had recently become familiar with it off of the 25th anniversary of the Machine Head was "When a Blind Man Cries." That's my new favorite tune.
Fantastic.
And
hold on a second.
Sure.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Oh, that's all right. So then when I was watching last night is when I finally realized that on the Gillan's In version of it, Jeff Healey is playing the lead on "When a Blind Man Cries." And it's just both versions are just beautiful.
I know, and putting Jeff Healey together with John Lord was, a really poignant moment. I think the two complement each other beautifully. It was a great moment.
Oh yeah. So that's what you get on the dual disc of Gillan's In is you get the CD and you get the DVD with a whole bunch of bonus stuff, which is lyrics and photos and 5.1 surround sound audio and all kinds of cool stuff. But I'm told now that there's going to be a deluxe tour edition of this released pretty soon.
Absolutely,
with a bunch of
I
live.
haven't actually seen it, but I gather it's almost completed as we speak.
That's what I'm hearing. Featuring a whole bunch of footage from the North American tour, I guess the first leg last year. So that'll be exciting to see that.
And there's a book called Smoke This.
I love the book. I love the book. The book is just awesome. At first, I was thinking, regular little biography thing, and when it came in, I thought, here, this is cool. He's really switching it up. The title itself is worth the price of the ticket, huh? Smoke This, the warblings, rants, philosophies, and musings from the singer of Deep Purple. Very cool. I like it.
It's mostly a collection of essays and articles and pieces and anecdotes and stuff like that comes from my website, Gillan.com. And over the years, I've left out all the political stuff because I wanted it to be more of a light-hearted read. So we've just touched on the fun stuff in there. There's some good photographs and interesting stories. Yeah,
lots of current photographs, a bunch of old ones, and interesting ones. Like I said, the scuba diving,
there's some interesting shots.
I love the shot of you on the sailboat with the pirate on the.
That's actually my boat back in England.
Nice.
Yeah, I've got a little locally built. It's a 50-year-old wooden boat, but when the weather's nice, we just go out and cruise around the Jurassic coast.
Cool. I was just thumbing through here. I was trying to find. I should have bookmarked it. There was a couple of excerpts in here that about the phone calls. So great stuff. And then there was the other one that I liked was when the guy comes up in the pub and says, "Are you Ian Gillan?" And sure.
It's just as I'm playing my pool shot, right? 3 times. Yeah. He said, "No, you're not." "Yes, I am." "No, you're not." So finally I had to, I won't say it on air, but...
Told him to F off, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he says, "Yeah, you're Ian."
You really are Ian, yeah.
A little bit back to the Gillan's In. I myself am an artist illustrator, and I have a certain psychedelic flavor in my work, and I just absolutely adore the cover to this disc.
Great.
Was that a concept of yours, or was that left in the artist's hands?
You mean the front cover of Gillan's In?
Oh yes. Yeah,
it's actually we kicked off doing all the bed tracks in Buffalo, New York, and it was midwinter and really you've heard about Buffalo. It's the opposite of Florida, right?
Oh yeah.
And so we used to go and get warmed up at the end of the day in a little bar called the Old Pink. It didn't really have a name, but it was called The Pink at one day. And
Right.
it's kind of got painted on by people over the years, the different owners. And so we took a photograph of that, and we enhanced it and made it kind of psychedelic.
Yeah, that's very cool.
And I'm dancing barefoot in the snow outside.
Yeah, right out under the lamp there.
Yeah.
And the lamp's got some posters on it, but you probably added those. But
yeah, they're great.
It is
really good.
And when you mentioned the Gatefold albums, that's what reminded me of this. When I saw this, I thought that would have been a great LP version. But then I looked on the website last night, and apparently it's available that way. Am I correct in that?
I think so, yes. I'm
so,
not sure what they're doing at the moment. There's a whole new raft of ideas coming out, and as I say, they'll probably send me test copies in a week or so of the tour edition and all that. So I'm not sure if they're doing vinyl.
I think I saw that, but there's been a resurgence in vinyl in certain areas, so that's nice.
You're right.
To
You know, there's a shop near where I live in England, and they started selling vinyl, and nobody had a record player.
Yeah.
So they got a stack of them in, about 20 record players. It's only a small town, and they sold out over a weekend.
Wow.
It's amazing. So yeah, people are buying vinyl again. So there's a lot of good old vinyl records still lying around in the markets and street stalls and everything that you can pick up for, I mean, I know they put a big price on these collectors, but you can actually pick up some great music if you look in the right places.
I had exhausted or gotten rid of my collection a number of years ago, and now I'm back up to like 200 or 300 records, and I don't have anything to play them on.
Well, my daughter has pinched my, because I've been away on tour. Last time I was home, I'm looking for my record player.
Yeah.
And it's in her apartment, together with all my Elvis records and my Chuck Berry and my Little Richard and my Nat King Cole and my Fats Domino and Ella Fitzgerald and all those stuff that just sound great on a record player. You know?
Oh yeah, some things you just can't.
So I think a lot of those things, when they were transferred to CD, they didn't bother remastering them. I remember when I first heard Deep Purple on a CD, I was devastated. It sounded so awful.
Really?
And it wasn't until about 10 years afterwards that they got remastered. And, now you have to look for the right ones to make sure you get the remastered ones. Otherwise, they're flat and,
right.
it just doesn't work.
Well, I think this 25th anniversary Machine Head is wonderful. I love that disc.
Yeah, they did a great job on that.
And
fantastic job.
I often love bonus tracks of unheard stuff, but I'm not usually crazy about different remixes. But the Glover remixes on there are pretty damn sweet too.
Oh yeah,
absolutely,
absolutely. Roger does a great job. He's a wonderful guy in the studio.
He seems like a very fun person too.
Well, actually, I've known Roger since 1965. We were in a band called Episode 6 together.
Right.
And we left that band together. We joined Deep Purple at the same time in 69. We left Deep Purple together in 73. And then it was Roger that got me back in the business around 76, I think it was, when he was doing a thing at the Royal Albert Hall in London called the Butterfly Ball. And Ronnie James Dio was supposed to be singing one of the parts and couldn't come. So Roger phoned me and said, you've got to help me out here. And I said, yeah, sure. So I came along. I wasn't in the program, and nobody knew who I was. And I just got this amazing, warm reception when I walked back on the stage. And I'd quit the business, really. I thought, well, how can you improve on what we had done? Of course, that was a stupid thing to do. But then it was such a good feeling. I went back and picked up my guitar and wrote 3 songs the next day. And then Roger and I were back in Purple again for the Perfect Strangers reunion in '84.
Well, as you said, how could you top that? That was rather a whirlwind Deep Purple, that early Deep Purple, was it not? Did that send your head spinning a little bit there?
I think so. You can cope with most things. We both did a pretty good musical apprenticeship before that. I mean, I grew up with music.
Yeah.
My granddad was an opera singer, and my uncle was a jazz pianist. I was in a boy soprano in the church choir. And then I joined rock and roll band. I mean, Elvis inspired me to move into the other side of things, and it was amazing. And we were prepared for everything except success.
Oh, yeah. I hear that.
And that was the only thing that was so hard to deal with because, you're still young. Suddenly, none of us came from rich families or anything, so you got a lot of money in your pocket, and all your girlfriends have disappeared, and you've got this beautiful woman on your arm. You say, who are you? And she goes, I'm your new girlfriend. All right. And so it goes on, and gradually the little family of the musicians that you've built up, the band, the brotherhood, it kind of you're moving into a more mature area, and the world is a bigger place, and you kind of drift apart a little bit. And I think it's very hard to deal with. And you can see it historically with a lot of bands that go through that situation and reach that crunch time, in the mid-20s, and find it hard to deal with. And many of them don't survive. We're lucky we managed to get back together again.
You're definitely a survivor, and I'm happy for that. I am going to have to take a short break here. I wonder if we could get you to come back for maybe just a couple more minutes after the break. Would that be okay?
Sure thing, John. Yeah.
I got a few more things that I would like to touch on, and I do.
All right, I've got about another 10 minutes before my next one comes in, so I'll be happy to be here.
Okay. Well, very good. Thank you, everyone. We have Ian Gillan on the line, and I got a couple more things to talk about Gillan's work and Deep Purple work, and even Jesus Christ Superstar. I'd like to touch on that a little bit if we may.
Oh, yeah.
All righty. Java John here. You are listening to The Acoustic Record on tropicwaveradio.net, and we'll be back in just a few moments. Hey, folks. Java John here. Tired of the same old crap on the radio? Do you long for the free-form, album-oriented style of radio of the 60s and 70s? Well, then I got the program for you, The Acoustic Record. Join me Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time, as I share with you some of my favorite music from the past 40 years. The show features rare tracks, interviews with pop culture icons, and guests live in the studio. No crap.
Can we shut that door?
Ian, are you there?
Yeah.
We mentioned before the break I was chatting a little bit about the Jesus Christ Superstar. I when I first started letting people know that that you were going to come on the show, a whole bunch of friends of mine came forward and just emailed me, John, that's my favorite of all time, and I feel the same way. I love the film, and I didn't become aware of your version until after the film.
Yeah, the film popularized it enormously. Yeah,
and I think that happened with a lot of people. But then once they heard the original recording, I think a lot of minds were changed.
Well, the original recording was it was a studio session with Tim Rice and Andrew Lloyd Webber and Joe Cocker's Grease Band had already laid down the rhythm tracks, and Yvonne Elliman was doing Mary Magdalene. Unbelievable!
I love her and miss her.
Sorry?
I said I love her and miss her on the music scene.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I got a message from her when I was in Hawaii last time I went through, and she couldn't make it over to say hello, but apparently she's living a quiet life there at the moment.
Yeah.
Oh, what a voice. What an incredible voice.
Yeah.
And great music. And,
sure.
But those versions, that particular recording, the studio version, contained all the first interpretations of the script and of the lyrics and the music.
Right.
And so it had a dynamism about it that set the tone for all the other performances that went on, the stage shows and the films and everything else. So,
right.
And I think probably the Garden of Gethsemane sequence was one of the most, a really fabulous moment in my life, because I've had the opportunity of singing some great music outside of rock and roll in various... I duetted with Pavarotti twice, singing Nessun Dorma at his annual benefit in Italy. And,
beautiful.
I used to, before I got into rock and roll, I was into classical music and all that sort of thing. And so I've got a feeling for all these things. And that was truly a beautiful piece of composition. And it was an absolute joy to sing. And at that stage, having just joined Deep Purple, I'd learned to let loose a little bit. And so it was really walking on experimental waters, really.
Cool. But very well received. So there.
Yeah, it sold 38 million units.
Man. That was one of my things, and you answered that in a couple of questions here. You answered some of my question about your influences, and apparently, it's interesting to see the folks like yourself who were pioneers at the helm of basically heavy metal music, and so you had nothing before,
It was called heavy metal later on. We just called ourselves a rock band, really.
Exactly.
And I think heavy metal was more specifically the forerunners of grunge and all that sort of thing. I think probably our roots were a little more widely spread because our drummer, Ian Pace, he grew up under the influence of Buddy Rich, so we had a big band swing feel in there. John Lord was at the Royal College of Music. So he had great influence with orchestral composition, and he was also a big fan of Jimmy Smith, a keyboard jazz giant who died just recently, and Roger Glover was all things folk and beautiful, and so there was a great mixture of influences that came into Deep Purple in '69, and I think that probably gave us the natural instincts of playing a wider range of music than probably would be defined just within that phrase, heavy metal.
Right.
But I've been called a lot worse.
Well, you know,
classic rock being the worst, I think.
Well, and you know, it doesn't. That's not. Yes, I know what you mean. I don't even want to go there. That's why I'm here doing this show. And,
cool, man.
And you know, I love it all, and I try to play a little bit of everything.
Most people do.
That's true.
I think most people do. And who wants to eat the same food every day?
Exactly.
You know, same with music. You like a little change, a little texture and dynamism in your diet. I think probably at that particular time in '69 was the most interesting because the Beatles had just gone before.
Yeah.
And Jimi Hendrix had happened. And there was this one big difference between the earlier rock and pop and what happened then, that explosion. And that was the bands, the musicians started writing their own music and started being expressive with their style. They weren't suffocated by producers and A&R people and all the toffee-nosed rubbish that went on. And we were still inspired by that amazing stuff from Elvis and Little Richard, you know.
Yes.
That was it. That was the key. That was the catalyst, I think, that set it all off. That's what the Beatles were doing in Hamburg. That's what we were doing, you know, 5 shows a night in clubs.
You know, the Beatles. The interesting thing the other day, you know, they had the agreement with Apple computers, the Apple label and Apple Core settled out, and now they're all saying once the Beatles catalog goes on iTunes, and they've opened up the UK album charts to allow downloads. They're thinking that the top 40 could be clogged with Beatles songs once again.
I bet it is.
That's amazing. And I guess there's bookmakers out there betting which ones are going to come in top.
I bet you. I mean, there are certain major things in your life. I mean, for me, when I first heard "That's All Right, Mama" by Elvis, I thought something's happening in the world here.
Oh yeah.
And when I first heard "Love Me Do" by the Beatles, it was the same thing.
Yeah.
And then years later, "Roxanne" by Police. These sort of seminal songs that just set the tone of the decade, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you have the pleasure of seeing Jimi live? Jimi Hendrix?
I couldn't get in.
Nah.
I couldn't get in. I went from a gig, and he was playing at the Cromwellian Club opposite the Natural History Museum, Cromwell Road in London.
Yeah.
And we were fighting each other to get in the door.
They were jammed up. Unbelievable.
I could just hear this muffled noise from downstairs in the basement where about 40 or 50. These clubs that we played in London those days, you know, you could only get 100 people in there.
Right.
The marquee was huge. They had, you know, you could get 400 people in there.
So the marquee was amongst
all
the
these
largest.
little clubs they were just great places. But you know, I missed it.
Well, Ian, let me tell you, it's been a pleasure chatting with you today.
Thank you, John.
And I really hope that whoever the powers that be out there booking the upcoming Deep Purple tour decide to bring you to Central Florida. I know you've had some history here in Central Florida. A number of people in Central Florida have.
We actually recorded a couple of albums in near Orlando.
A bunch.
And I've rented houses there. We spent probably over the last. I remember we were down there during the O.J. Simpson trial, the entire Simpson trial. In fact, we dragged out the recording so we could see the end of it, I think. So we probably spent about a year there on and off. And Steve Morse, of course, our guitar player, lives in Ocala.
Yeah. Yeah. So lots of well wishes from here in Central Florida.
Well, we hope to see you later in the year.
Yeah. And with any luck, maybe we can drag you into the studio here.
It'd be a pleasure.
All right. Hey, I thank you very much. Enjoy the weather over there in Portugal as we will here in Florida. Ian, it's been a pleasure chatting with you today.
Thank you very much.
And I will stay in touch. Thank you, sir.
All right. See you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye now. All right. Very, very nice, Ian Gillan of Deep Purple fame. All the way from Portugal there.